Hi everybody, how's it going? I think we should get to it. Let's talk about the places I've been, the people I've met, some things that have happened to me, and some things that I've done. I think also that we should maybe start a new thing where you guess where I am right now. And maybe there'll be prizes and clues or not. I don't know. It's just something fun. Maybe a postcard. What do you say? Let's see. Family and friends who know exactly where I am not included. That's just cheating. All right. Let's get to it.
So one thing I didn't talk about in the last video was that on the ride to Santa Clarita, my right knee started to hurt really bad. It was starting to swell and I couldn't do much about it. So I got to my host place and the next day was looking like a storm and an uphill climb. I couldn't stay there any longer, but I definitely needed to rest the knee for about a day probably. And my host was gracious enough to drive me to Pasadena, where I was able to stay for more than a day. Hanging out in Pasadena was really cool, but I did want to get moving. Unfortunately, the weather had other things in mind, so I was forced to stay put and get to know the area. It's not too bad a consolation prize. I raised the seat on my bike, which helped my knee problem, and got going, headed out to Redlands. The ride to Redlands was generally pretty nice. There are a lot of residential streets that I was able to go on and avoid some major roads. Some bike paths, just a generally nice ride.
Hey, do you know what mountain that is? Baldy? Okay. Okay, so avoid that mountain. Thank you.
When I got to Redlands, the palm trees had showed back up and it was very uphill, so a little bit of a biking challenge. But I had the good fortune of meeting Natalie from the Defeating Epilepsy Foundation, and I'm happy to say that I completely trust her, and I think it's awesome that she's on this warpath to help people who do have epilepsy. From Redding, I headed to Desert Palm Springs, and in doing so, I had to go through a place called Banning. Going through Banning was tough. I attempted to go through some private land and got turned around. I didn't know it was private at the time. It's actually a reserve. And I ended up going then down to a farm road, which at the end of this road had a no trespassing sign and gate. I was very disappointed to see that gate. That road was made of sand, and bikes don't do well in sand, so I was just hoping that it was going to work out. I then had to turn around and go back up the hill to a path that ran alongside a train. And to call it a path is an absolute stretch because it's made of, yes, gravel, but also huge rocks and, torn up earth, dug out, eroded sand. It was honestly just, I can't believe that I didn't get a flat during that whole thing. The whole time I was like, this is flat central, and I thought my tires were going to be shredded up as well. But it did spit me back onto the highway, and I got down to Desert Palm Springs all right. And yes, I absolutely went for a bath in a hot spring. I mean, how are you not supposed to do that? That was pretty nice. That was a nice reward to the end of the day.
So there you have it. Santa Clarita to Pasadena to Desert Palm Springs. I just want to remind everybody that this whole trip is about epilepsy awareness and raising some funds for the Center for Epilepsy and Seizure Education in British Columbia and the Defeating Epilepsy Foundation in the United States. Please definitely go check out the GoFundMe page that I have set up, gofundme.com/ride for epilepsy, as well as my page, my website, storytellingseizures.org. There's a lot of good information to be found on there, and you can keep up with the trip. So absolutely please do both of those and send me a message if you want to talk. Cheers. Bye, guys.